I'm out in my garden this evening on a hot July day and humid. It's been cloudy but no rains, which is kind of sad. I'm out here in my garden. I'm gonna actually be working on some trellises today. I'm gonna show how I like to do them, and I'm also gonna give just a general update. I found my potatoes in the one square bin I've actually killed. Talk a little bit about that. So these are my tomato plants. So they're getting quite big. Have some tomatoes actually come in on this one, and they are starting to need to be trained a little bit. I've taken down this fence that keeps my kids and chickens out of the garden, and I'm actually going to be sliding it out so we can get back behind these plants here. What I'm going to do for the trellis on this one is I'm going to put up this that I have right there. It's just going to span from one end to the other over here. I'm going to use some clips and some other stuff to hold it on, and then I'm going to start training the plants to go up through it. Then I do need to get this one fixed right there. It broke in a windstorm, and that one I plan on putting across the back here. So the plants are actually doing really well. Oop. There's a sucker right there. I'm going to trim this one. Best way that I like to do it is using my thumb, pinch it off like that. Trimming the suckers just helps them to produce actually more fruit. I tend to do it on all my tomatoes to keep them. I do it on all my tomatoes to help keep them growing. So I recommend it, but I'm going to get to it and get that fence slid out and then show more on how to set up these trellises. So what I did there is I just took some of these poles that I had. They're just kind of like a cheapo T-post, and I just pounded it into the ground to the top there, and then I just wired the conduit up to it, and this is just 1/2-inch conduit, and then we keep the net around as long as we can. I use these corner pieces and the centers right here. I'm thinking I might just switch that out to a solid piece because it does sag a little bit. But then same thing on this side. I find this better than the rebar into the ground because you get up higher support. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turns out, and that's how I build my trellises. I'm going to do the same thing as I said on the back there, and fix up that one trellis. Probably going to pound one of those poles next to it, and I'm already starting to weave the tomatoes through, and they'll just grow as we weave them back and forth up to the top, and we'll have lots of tomatoes. With my son's garden, me and my wife just decided to put a tomato cage on it since it was the only thing that needed to be trellised. I'm not a big fan of the cages, but they do pretty good for single tomatoes when you start getting them in lots of rows. The other thing we're going to start trellising is the sweet potato plant. After I get a few more of the roots buried in, we'll train it and trellis it. You can actually eat the sweet potato plant's leaves and blossoms if it ever does blossom. I'm hoping it does. You'd eat them just like you would in a green salad or with spinach. So that's pretty much it for on how I trellis. So another thing I like to do to help trellis my tomatoes is use these rings. All they do is they clip on a piece of string like this, and then you put them around there, and then there's another one, and then the string just goes right on up to the top of the pipe that you see there. I chose to do it on this side, especially with this plant, because I hadn't trellised it and it's starting to get a little over demanding to try to get it to go right. You can already see it's only been trellised for really a few hours, and it's starting to try to grow up again, so I'm hoping that one straightens out. This is another one that I need to do that with. This one I'll do it with as well once I get that other fixed, but I'm just going to use the netting that's on there. The downside with the netting is if you don't start trellising them early, it gets really hard to trellis them because you're weaving so much of the plant through. It's hard to do without damaging them. But So I wanted to show what's happened with the potatoes. I forgot how much moisture compost actually holds into it. And this is my potatoes right here. They all rotted out. All the plants rotted completely out. And this stuff is just so wet. You look at how that just balls up. Got some drippage coming out of it. It's... So, straight compost, I think they would have done well had I watered it more. I might just let this sit here, continue decaying down, because it's a lot higher in nitrogen as well than most of your soils. So it's a very super rich soil. Apparently planting pumpkins directly in it does really well, so I might try that with it. But I'm just not too happy what happened with the potatoes. There might be some others that I try later on this year in here after it cools off, because you dig down in there and it's super warm as well. So that's what happened to the potatoes, as they rotted out before they turned green. It wasn't so much that things were eating them as there was no root growth happening. It was just rotting, which is my fault because I overwatered them, and that soil was just way high in nitrogen. I mean, you look at my hand from that, super brown, and it shouldn't be like that for stuff to grow, for the soil to be good. So, I still got to put the fence back together. I'm gonna hurry and go and do that. You'll just see it in the next video. Thanks for joining me on this hot July day, and have fun in your garden. And I hope the things that I'm doing is helping you guys have ideas on how to make your gardens, or even just get into gardening. Have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. If you like what you're seeing, please like and subscribe, and also share with others who may be interested in the same thing. Until next time, stay green.